to is titled Anna Lakale by Eliana featuring Masari. Of course, it's not English, as you can tell. Well, a conversation about now bothers on the police. I was supposed to have a guest. Unfortunately, it's been close to impossible reaching out to him. I'm hoping that we are able to do that before the show ends. But in October 2020, the youth-driven End-SARS protest in Nigeria demanded an end to police brutality and meaningful reform of the Nigeria police force. The government responded almost immediately by disbanding the notorious Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which was SARS, because of course the protest was tagged End-SARS. So Nigerian youths had had enough of that squad, and so the government did disband SARS, and they introduced another squad known as SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics. But 5 years on, very little has changed. There's still brutality, extortion, and impunity, which were reasons why the protest happened in the first place. The legacy of the police, which was passed on from the colonial times, had always been to serve the state and not citizens. Unfortunately, not much had changed. Well, former spokesperson of the Rivers Civil Society organization, Solomon Lenu, says the very issues that prompted the demonstrations are still prevalent today. Speaking in an interview, Mr. Lenu questioned if the protest made an impact, as he insisted that cases of brutality by security agencies appear to have worsened rather than improved.
Up to this day, the very essence for which the End-SARS protest was predicated upon the fact and the government heard. But whether they listen, it's another question, because the brutality by security agencies then that we are still seeing today wouldn't be. All the officers who were part of that rogue agency are still wearing different uniforms, bearing arms on the streets.
Well, Lenu said the government, rather than focusing on the welfare of its citizens, have continued to subject them to pain and suffering.
Making sure that there is cohesion, making sure that there is peace, making sure that the people are pacified should be the topmost priority in any policy that government should make at this point. Look at all the things that should make life easy, which ordinarily was the main crux of the issue that necessitated the End-SARS. But up to this day, education is not working, medical care system is failing. The current administration came up with so many obnoxious policies that has fostered pains on the people of Nigeria.
Okay, so Lenu was supposed to be my guest, but I've been unable to reach him. Hopefully, like I said earlier, we can pull that off before the show ends. But the focus is on why the police reform failed. Why did it fail? Because, and I don't know if the police is aware of this, because we've said it many times, the protest to some degree was also supposed to favor them. It also begs the question about the potency of protest. End-SARS was the biggest, it had the biggest engagement of young protesters, at least in modern history. It was the biggest youth-led demonstration in Nigeria for recent times. And 5 years on, the same things people were asking for have not been answered. These were the demands of the protesters, because there was 5 for 5, if you remember. Immediate release of all arrested protesters, justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families, setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct, carrying out psychological evaluation and retraining of all disbanded SARS operatives before they can be redeployed with verification by an independent body, and finally, which I believe is the most important, increase in police salaries to adequately compensate officers for protecting the lives and property of citizens. So let's break down these demands. The release of protesters, I think some were released, and as at a year later, there were still demands for release of more protesters because some were still behind bars. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. This one was put in the purview of the states. So in some states, we heard that some families had been reached out to, the government of those states had reached out to them. In other states, people were still complaining. Also, another thing that was put to states, the next one, setting up independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports. There were panels of inquiry, if you remember, for different states. Every state had a panel of inquiry looking into the End-SARS brutalities, and the recommendations from those panels were that, yes, indeed, there was massive brutality, misconduct by the police to very grave degrees. Now, the recommendations of most of those inquiries were not implemented. Carrying out psychological evaluation and retraining of all disbanded SARS operatives, we saw videos as released by the police of what seemed to be, I think, training. I don't know if you saw that video. They showed some officers in white T-shirts. They said these are the new SWAT members. Of course, they disbanded SARS and it was now SWAT. And this was the training they underwent. Nigerians reacted. Some laughed. Some, heard insults at the police. They said different things. But there was no evidence that they had undergone psychological evaluation, because the demands that they would be retrained and evaluated before they are redeployed. I can tell you for free that the SWAT, that was the new body constituted thanks to the disbanding of SARS, is non-existent today. The same officers that were in SARS have been redeployed. They are still on the streets. And we are certain to a very large degree that the verification by an independent body of the psychological evaluation was not complete. This is based on reports in the media, investigation by the media. We've reached out to spokespersons of police, different police commands, to ask, does SWAT exist in any form? Is there a SWAT? Are they operational? The way we have the Cobra squad and the This One squad, is it functional? And we've not gotten the kind of feedback that means yes. So far so good. These demands have not been fulfilled. So my question to you is very simple, because personal experience may differ. Do you think Nigerians trust the police today more than they did 5 years ago? 5 years ago was when those protests held, asking for the end to SARS, because it was believed that police brutality was at an all-time high. And you need to remember that End-SARS protests as a movement started in 2017. There were different campaigns online. There were small demonstrations in different parts of the country. But 2020 was nationwide. We had protests in major cities across the country. So Nigerians have been calling for an end to police brutality for a long time. But the culmination was in 2020. So if it got to that point, which we would assume was the peak, now 5 years later, have you as a citizen, whose experience will very likely differ from the next man, do you trust the police more today than you did 5 years ago when that protest happened? Have you had a better experience today than you did with the police 5 years ago? Remember that this is personal experience, so your answer may differ from the next man. The number to call, 0817 923 0002. 0817 923 0003. WhatsApp is 080 903 06416. I'll take one call before the break. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Samaraku.
Good evening. What's your name?
Honorable Ida from Ikoro.
All right, Ida, go ahead. Okay, Honorable Ida. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. I can literally hear myself. And somehow you can't hear me. Hello?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. What's your name?
I'm Pastor Samuel Wales
All right, Pastor, very quickly, so we take a break. Go ahead.
from Afara Ichi.
Okay.
Actually, I would say that the police really about justice. I remember those days when there was so many persons were brutalized and messed up unjustly. Actually, I may not get 100% okay now, but I think a little adjustment has been made. But where I craft foul is the aspect of extortion.
Okay.
I don't know how we can cope that very metric.
Okay.
No matter, I want to tell you that their salary has increased. I'm aware of that.
Okay.
But away from that, you will still see police. That 100, 200 naira, they can kill, they can beat somebody. If drivers do not give them that money, they are ready to pack that driver up for 2 hours, 3 hours, just because of 200 naira.
Okay.
And I don't know from end to end. I was even coming from Port Harcourt. I just came from Port Harcourt to my house. Now every stopping 200 naira. You won't even at that major place. If you get to that before you get to Oko, you know that place to be a place that they will say no, we won't collect because of people will be passing here. But you will see them, they will tell you go the other side, go the other side. Immediately you go the other side, the woman at the other side will tell you, okay, bring it, you will collect. It's like that, and it's bad. There just be a change of scenario. Let something, let it, their leaders call them to order. Let's change this scenario. Let's change this pattern.
Okay.
You are being paid.
Thank you very much. All right, Pastor. Has increased. After the break, we talk. Stay with us. Nigeria Info, Sam Chinedu here. We're talking about 5 years on, End-SARS demands yet to be fulfilled. Questions. Do you think Nigerians trust the police today more than they did 5 years ago? Earlier in the news, former spokesperson of the Rivers Civil Society Organization, Lenu, said the very issues that prompted the demonstrations are still prevalent today. And I've been able to connect with Mr. Lenu. He joins me virtually. Good day, Mr. Lenu. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for having me. Good evening, Port Harcourt.
All right. So we have to make the most of that time. Now, you've aired your views on this as our correspondent spoke to you. But beyond the realities on ground, which you say are still prevalent, what is the position of the civil society space to the 5th anniversary of the End-SARS protest? Was there a commemoration? Was it marked in any way, shape, or form?
Well, I think the mere gathering and then making fanfare and all of that, for us now, I think is no longer an in thing, because we've done that over and over again. We've not seen any positive outcome. If you could remember, last year we had a serious commemoration of the End-SARS protest, and at the end of the day, we also had some of our men who came out to commemorate that event arrested, detained, and equally brutalized again. So the truth of the matter is that it's not just about commemoration or gathering and then making noise about the issue. The truth is that today, as of today, we are in a state where the laws of this country is not respected. The leaders who are supposed to be the people who are supposed to be the custodians, of the law, are disrespecting and disregarding the same law that they are supposed to uphold. The institutions of government who are supposed to enforce, the obedience to these laws had equally, become a tool in the hands of these leaders who are bent on destroying every essence. The situation that we are in today is a very dicey one. I listened to you when you were, for of the 5-point agenda, the 5 for 5 that was presented to the federal government, which they hastily accepted that they were going to implement in 2020. Which one of these 4 points, 4 demands have been met today? None. As we speak today, even some of the people, the bodies of some of the people that were killed at that Lekki toll gate had not been accounted for till now as we speak. Some of the people who were arrested till today, some of their families, I can tell you, have not been able to see them. This is 5 years after. You understand? And when you look at the kind of things that happens in our society, you begin to see why some people who were, the crusaders are already throwing in the towels, because at this point, it looks as though, our case is completely hopeless. And it's unfortunate, because if you look at the challenges that we are having, if you look at the 5-point agenda that the protesters even demanded for, even the police, who were even the main reason for, who were the title tag for that protest, there was even a demand here for their own welfare. But if you look at it today, the police is still doing the same thing, even more than they were doing back then. It was not even until the same civil society activists even staged a protest recently this year. That was when their salaries were reviewed a little bit. And that's the same thing that the police are brutalizing the people of Nigeria about, the same people who are brutalizing the people, the same people that the police, are torturing, is the same people too who can bring about their own redemption and their own salvation. As I speak to you, the massacre that took place up to today, we've not seen one person that was punished or that was put on trial and prosecuted proper. The panel that was set up, and so much drama with overwhelming evidence, they could not deny that there was a massacre that happened in Lekki Tollgate. But I can also tell you that the issue was not even all about the happenings in Lekki Tollgate, because they can continue to abruptly. There were incidents that marked that protest, protest, some of which was here in Rivers State.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that tomorrow, Rivers State remains one of the states that accommodates the highest level of police brutality in this country. And as we speak to you today, the brutality is still going on. All what happened was just, a change of clothing, a makeover from SARS to SWAT, and then today, as we speak to you, all of them had all the brutish officers, all the devilish officers, all the rogue agents are all back in different units, and they are still doing the same thing that they were doing, and even more.
Okay. So
you see that we are in a system where when people complain, they behave as if it doesn't concern them. They are some way, somehow, those who seem to be immune against the things and the pains and the suffering of the ordinary Nigerians. So that is where we are. The story has not changed. Nothing has happened to the situation that necessitated the End-SARS protest. It is still with us, and it is even more. If we take record today, I can even tell you that more brutality, more crime, more suffering has been, fashioned against the ordinary Nigerians today, even more than that, even more than the time that we carried out the End-SARS protest.
All right, Mr. Lenu, we might not consider this a total failure. And I say that because the Police Act of 2020 was enacted in that 2020. Of course, before then, it was an old law that was in desperate need of amendment. Do you consider that a bit of progress in some way?
Well, Sam, before the amendments to the Police Act, which was eventually passed in 2022, there was another Police Act of 2010. Before that Police Act of 2010, there was also another, law that criminalizes all of the actions that the police carry out on our roads and in our society today. The problem of this country is not the absence of law or legislation. No. The problem is that the people who make this law, most times in today Nigeria, has become above the same law that they are supposed to uphold and protect. The laws are made for you and me, Sam, you and me. It does not affect the people who make this law. It does not affect the people who are high up there. Just make enough money. Just occupy one big position in this country, and then the laws of Nigeria will no longer apply to you. So that's the issue. It's not about not having law or that people sat somewhere and make laws. As we are talking today, don't we have enough law that criminalizes stealing in governance?